All right. To everybody in the audience, obviously we expected a 9:30 start time, so we apologize for the delay, but that was important business. We know you, everybody has busy lives, and the judges in particular have dockets that they're trying to run, so we thank you for your patience today. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the council. My name is Robert Jones. I'm the Chief Judge of the New Orleans Municipal and Traffic Court. With me this morning, my colleague, Judge Joseph Landry, who presides over Division F, my Judicial Administrator, Monique Bossier, my Deputy Judicial Administrator, Lene Crowley. I appreciate the fact that you've allowed us to go first on your agenda. We do have dockets to address as soon as this concludes. As we're coming to the end of 2025, as I've indicated earlier, our case filings are up 30% across the board. Criminal matters, DWIs, and regular traffic tickets. You also know that we were forced to leave our Broad Street Courthouse after Ida, and we've been temporarily headquartered or housed in the former VA hospital. We've been there for 4.5 years. We've endured various infrastructure problems and have at times shuttered our operations, but we are very, very near the return to Broad Street. And that was one of our primary goals for 2025, to complete the renovation process, which would facilitate our return. So very shortly, we will return to a state-of-the-art courthouse that will be a benefit to the community, to litigants, to the city at large. As it relates to our other goals for 2025, we have a community court that we launched in 2024. This was an effort to address criminal misbehavior in a non-traditional way. We would divert individuals who have challenges, such as mental health issues, homelessness, joblessness, that may motivate them to misbehave. And if they've created or committed a nonviolent offense, and it was at least partially motivated by their standing in life, we would assess their needs, address their needs, and resolve their problems, thereby creating disincentives or barriers to misbehavior. So today we've been very successful. We've admitted 400 participants into our program. We're having great results. We're trying to engage community organizations to assist us in the effort. We meet quarterly with our advisory board, which is comprised by some of you or your designees. We are on the verge of launching a case management system for this court. Our traditional system, though state-of-the-art, it's not appropriate for community court matters and the sensitivities there involved. So we're also about to launch our online case resolution program. This would be a means or a mechanism whereby we could address like traffic matters remotely, and individuals wouldn't have to take off from work to address to contest a speeding ticket or a brake tag matter. So all of these things have been ongoing in 2025. It is our belief that mid-November we will begin the transition back to Broad Street. By December 1st, we will be operating simultaneously from both 1601 Perdido and also on Broad Street on a limited basis in both sites. And on January 1st, we will be fully operational at 727 South Broad. Currently, we have 67 employees. We have several vacancies, some of which are statutory, but they have not been, obviously, with the hiring freeze, they have not been filled. Budgetarily, we've asked for sufficient appropriation to handle our payroll with the 67 employees and the vacancies, if that can be handled. Our other operating expenditures, which historically have run in the vicinity of $1 million, I understand we've been asked to shoulder those on our own by exhausting our reserve funds. And we're mindful of the decisions, the painful decisions and cuts that you guys have to make. And we will shoulder that responsibility on our own. With that said, I will answer any questions you may have.
I don't have a question, but very quickly, I just want to say thank you for thinking about how to employ technology to make things easier for people. I think a lot of times we still operate collectively, and I'm not pointing the finger at the administration, but every branch of government in 1920 style, we still use legal filings too, instead of regular paper on lots of things. So appreciate the fact that the court is being proactive and trying to take a burden off of residents while also making sure it's efficient. Thank you. Councilmember Thomas, Councilmember Harris.
No, I just want to thank the judges and the staff, our police chief and some members of the city government have been lauded for doing more with less. But I think you guys have been the greatest example. Judge, y'all haven't missed a beat from community, special projects, special initiatives, using whatever building or facility you had. And we probably owe you guys a whole lot more than we could ever give you. And I think y'all have been one of the great examples of using what you have to try to make it work to help the public fulfill those responsibilities. So on behalf of everybody that you guys, that we've ever represented, thank y'all for that.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your community court initiative. I think it's critical to ensuring that the least of us and the most burdened get the services that they need rather than incarceration, which is where a lot of jurisdictions are headed. So I just want to thank you for your efforts there. I also can't wait to see your new building, which is in District B. And so when you open it, please invite me and my staff over.
I promise.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see any public comment. And so if nobody's asking you for anything, it's like being in court when you're winning, sit down, so you all leave. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate your time this morning. Clerk of Criminal Court, you're up next. Thank you all.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. The floor is yours.
Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
I want to take a brief moment to, first of all, thank you all for everything you've ever done for our office, and thank you for your personal support of me, as well as your professional support. It's important that people know that you all have helped us with almost every request that we've had so far, and I look forward to working with you all in the future. I want to begin by saying that to the general public as well as you all that, and you all know that what the office is responsible for. It is not just the keep of the record. We also handle the elections for the parish, which is extremely important. And I want to make it known that we work with you all very closely and making sure that we have polling places in areas where they need to be. If anything needs to be moved, we work closely with you all as well, and we look forward to continuing that. At this moment, I would like to turn it over to my accounting CEO, to the judge for some opening comments as well.
Once again, we'd like to thank you and for this opportunity. And as I have for the last 50 or so years made the same request, we need to have someone take a look at the building. That building was built in 1939 to house 3 sections of court, A, B, and C. It housed the chief of police, the coroner's office, the sheriff's office. And today we're up to 12 sections of court, the judicial administrative office, and a woefully under area-wise for clerk's offices, support groups. I think the public has to come to that office, jurors have to come into that building, and I think it's time we at least put a study committee together about at least building a new criminal district court building or at least renovating the one we have. They're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars of renovation outside of the building as we speak. But I think that it's now we need to turn our attention to the inside of that building. I mean, if you travel around the country, around the state and look at courthouses, we have to rank at least one of the best. So I would think that one of my last wishes as a public servant is that we at least study the proposal on whether or not we should have it. And I want to thank you all for all of the help you've given me over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Councilmember Harris.
Well, Judge, as a mentor and a friend of mine, I can let you know that in our bond sale, if the voters approve it, and I hope they do, there is money allocated for renovation of criminal district court, the interior, not just the exterior, including some juror rooms, which I understand and I've toured are in deplorable condition, and other areas of the court that will make it better for the people who attend, including the jurors, the judges, and the folks who are there.
And also, I'd like the public doesn't know this, but this city is in a position that no other municipality is. You have to support a state agency, the Clerk of Criminal District Court. When it was designed back in 1939 sometime, with only 3 sections of court, it was okay for the city, but all of the other clerk's offices in the state of Louisiana are funded by filing fees that they collect, except for criminal district court. So it is an unusual situation, but we have to get in line with every other city agencies for the few dollars that's available. Thank you.
And we understand that from the criminal judges as well, that we cannot collect fines and fees because of this because of that. But I will say, you know, I will continue to support criminal district court. You know, it sits in District B, as do a number of municipal buildings, and a lot of my capital funding has to go to support those buildings. So I can't build parks, unlike some folks. So thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Good morning. With respect to our budget, we've worked extremely well and in coordination with the City of New Orleans, the budget department. We did not increase our ask from the prior year except for one item. As far as our staffing, last year we finished with approximately 70 staff. At the end of last year, we had 80.5. So our increase in our salaries, it wasn't a reflection of raises or anything like that. It's just a reflection of our additional hiring during the year to get our staffing number up to where it should be. As far as our operating costs, the bulk of our operating costs relates to storage. We store a lot of our files with Iron Mountain. Also our copy machines throughout our departments. The city of New Orleans used to cover that cost. Last year they asked us to pick up that cost, and they put that amount of money for those rentals of the copy machines into our budget. The only ask that we asked for $30,000. We had some files that were being stored by Public Works that were damaged. I think the clerk's going to address that in a minute. And so it's such that we really have to have a professional to come in, retrieve those files, clean them up, and scan them into the system. A lot of them, they were dirtied up, had all other kind of issues. So that's something that we have to do. We put in the budget $30,000 for that. Other than that, there is no additional ask. Our operating budget is pretty bare bones. We have supplies. We provide paper to every section of court, to the sheriff's department. We have supplies, folders, which are extremely expensive, that we put the docket information in. Other than that, though, there is no additional request this year, and I'll turn it back over to the clerk to talk about our goals.
So moving forward, we plan to maintain our staffing currently the way it is. And again, I thank you for allowing us to give our staffers some increase in pay as far as our entry-level positions are concerned. That was really important for us to get. We've been able to stabilize the turnover at our office currently, and that has been a great help. Also, at some point, well, I'll address it now. The last time we were here, we were able to get funding for free expungements. Councilman Giarrusso kind of spearheaded that, and I want to thank you directly again. That is very important to us, and it's important that we use that tool to reach out to the community for those who want to get their lives together and back in order. The only request with regards to that is, I wanted to update you on that situation, is we had already gotten state money, which we had to use first because of deadlines. With that money, we were able to do 157, I believe, expungements, which extended beyond that $50,000 that we got from the state. We're currently receiving requests for new expungements. We've gotten 307 so far. Probably just over half of those were not in the jurisdiction of criminal district court, but we have currently on the books requests for 167 individuals. Now, just to clarify, some individuals have up to, I think the largest number for one individual was 13 expungements. So we have 167 people with multiple expungement requests. So that money is going to be gone really quick. We ask that you also allocate to us funds that would allow that program to continue into the future. And with regards to the issue with the storage for our files, I wanted to update you, let you know that Mr. Threats is working with us. We had discussed a temporary location that didn't quite meet our requirements because there were other agencies that were housed in the building as well, which would have caused other individuals that we cannot control the flow in and out of those individuals around those sensitive documents. So that quite didn't work out, but we're still working together with Mr. Threats as far as the leasing of a potential new storage site. And beyond that, let me turn it over to Louise Gray, who has had some information with regard to our request.
Good morning. In regards to the request for additional storage, we've been also working with the project delivery unit with Warren Smith. He has been working with me since the clerk took office. So we have truly been trying to find a new location so that we can store records. In addition to the bond request that is coming up on November 15th, and with the projected funds that you all are looking to give the clerk's office through this request, we're hoping that we can also use some of those funds for storage.
We would greatly appreciate that additional help. And another area I want to touch on is how we're coming with our case management system. This, I think we've spoken about it before. We are within days of launching that system. That system is going to create efficiencies that will help save the city money for file storage and paper costs and things of that nature. Also, we're probably going to go down on the number of copy machines we're going to be using. So that'll help the budget in the future. But as it stands, that system is nearly ready for launch within the next few days. So we're looking at a November 10th date for a soft launch in order to work out the kinks on the system.
It's taking how long? It's taking 5 years.
So in order for people to understand just how extensive and expansive this program is, it is also tied into the city's modernization of the criminal justice system, where they're going to be tying into not only my office, they're going to tie into the sheriff's office, the DA's office, NOPD, and other agencies which we would be reporting to, such as Supreme Court, the state, and the DOJ. So this whole system is going to make everything much more efficient. A lot of the steps and processes that we have today are manual in nature and take quite a long time to do. I think we will be in a very good place once this goes live. Also, the case management system will be free to anyone for viewing from anywhere in the world. The other part of it is, and I've had this idea moving forward, and I've started having conversations with the Clerks Association with regard to allowing incarcerated individuals to be able to view their records as well. We've gotten a little pushback on that, but I think we can all work together and figure out something to help that process along. Anything else we want to cover?
It's been accumulation. 5 years of plan, 5 or 6 years of plan.
So when we came into office, that process has taken us nearly 4 years to get underway. When we came in, we did not have the grant allotted to our office yet, so it took quite a bit of administrative work to get to the point where we could have those funds flowing into the office and choose a vendor. So it's been a long, tedious, drawn-out process, but we're getting there. Hopefully by the end of the year, it'll be fully operational with all the kinks worked out, and we're looking forward to getting that done. So if you have any questions about that. No questions?
Councilmember
No,
Green?
I'm sorry. I'm going to wait until the end of your presentation. You're not finished, though.
Yeah.
You are? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I just wanted to, thank you, Madam Chair. I just think that we glossed over a very important issue, and I do want to express my appreciation to you that when polling places have had to be moved, that there was sufficient notice of our citizens and that we've been able to get polling places working together closer to where our citizens vote, so that they don't have to take sometimes public transit to get there or get a ride. Sometimes it's walkable. It's worked very well in the Gentilly community and the Ninth Ward community. And I just wanted to express to you publicly, because I know that it's something that doesn't get recognized a lot, that I appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that sometimes on election days I've gotten calls or messages from persons saying that there might have been a problem at a particular polling place, and that same day somebody, of course it had to be same day, but same day someone from your office got to the polling place to address whatever the issue was, especially once it was a machine, and that's a very serious issue. So those are the things that don't go recognized, because your office is called the Office of the Criminal District Court, and so people focus on the criminal district court or the criminal matter, but at the end of the day, preserving the right of our citizens to qualify for office in a way where they're greeted in a friendly manner and efficiently, also providing the opportunity for our citizens to vote in a safe and secure location, and also when it's necessary to move polling places, especially if they need to be done immediately, that they are communicated with, the public is communicated with. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate that.
And thank you, Councilman. And a good example of that is what we did with the Baptist Seminary.
Right.
We were able to work with your office to move those locations, those precincts back into the neighborhood where they were more convenient for the residents. So thank you again for that and working with us. All the members work with us when we have these issues that come up. And another area I want to address briefly is, and to make you aware of, is that, and the public to make them aware of as well, is that we are going to be getting new machines statewide. I believe we may be the first jurisdiction to get them, which I'm really excited about. These machines I've been looking at for probably 15 years now, when my predecessor sent me on a conference to look at what other jurisdictions are doing. So that's one area we're going to have probably within the year. Also, we've been looking at e-polling books. Eventually, with the e-polling books, it will allow all these parish residents to vote at any location, much like you do now with early voting. So that's going to be a really exciting part that's coming online very soon as well. And the other thing is that we have, as you know, I'm sure you've all been paying attention, that we're going to be having closed party primaries coming up. That's going to be a very challenging situation because we have to bring another aspect of training to our poll commissioners to make sure they can handle that effort on election day next year. So just want to make you aware of that.
Any other questions before I get to public comment? All right, first up is Verlin Dampier, followed by Mary Ann Moshat.
Here we go.
Good morning, Council. The question is,
If you could pull your microphone closer to your mouth.
Just pull it down.
Yeah, there you
Pull
go.
it down?
There you go. And just state your name and address for the record, please.
my name is Vera Lynn Dampier. Okay. The question is, what funds are going to get more of the records from the landfill and effort to address the impact of the lost records to the people impacted by the loss? What part of the funds are going to be moved there?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
What funds are going to get more of the records from the landfill and effort to address the impact of the lost records to the people impacted by the loss?
So we retrieved everything that we were able to retrieve on that day due to the city workers, our public works staffing, dumping them into the landfill. We've already engaged a company that's going to, or two companies that's going to restore the records. So we're still working on those estimates as we speak, and we'll come back to the council to address that at the proper time.
Okay.
Mary Ann?
My name's Mary Ann Mushat. My address is 6030 South Robertson, District A. My question, right, I'm not a budget person by any stretch of the imagination, but the grant for digitizing, as I understand it, was awarded May 17th of 2025, right? So where is that reflected on the budget for either this year, and if a percentage of the money hasn't been spent, where is it for next year? And when do we anticipate the conversion that's in place throughout the rest of the state to be done here in this city? Thanks.
Thank you. Randy, do you have any information on the grant funding?
the grant funding for their office is not run through the city.
Clerk of Court, do you want to get back to her on the the
Yes,
grant funding?
I'll get back to her on it.
All right. Well, and you have,
But how can it be not in the budget?
Because it's not managed by the city of New Orleans. That's what-
Correct.
The
This is the
budget.
city budget.
For a criminal district court, for the criminal clerk of court, they have state funding and they have city funding. What we talk about at this meeting is the city funding. It's similar to how when the DA comes down here to talk about the salaries for his individuals, there's a state warrant that pays for part of that salary. We don't have oversight over that money.
So
the
you're not
only
even
money that's
listing it in the
considered,
budget?
the only part of the budget in front of us today is the
Is-
city-controlled part of the budget. The
Okay,
grant is
so-
not managed by the city.
Okay, so all these zeros on the budget is because there are monies that are not being discussed today?
Brandy would have to answer that question. But just for clarification, with all of the criminal offices, because they have this weird state-city shared finances, we only have authority over their city funding. So if the grant is not managed by the city, it wouldn't be here today for consideration.
Okay, okay.
thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just say that it looks like the total for the revenue was for the city portion was at the expenditure side instead of the revenue side. But yes, the zeros are there because the funding is not managed by the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, you are released. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Office of Inspector General and Ethics Review Board.
A lot of money. People, we had one.
Y'all have hot mics.
Oh.
Do you want to sit here? Oh, you sit.
When you're ready, you can proceed.
Good morning. I'm Dane Cialino, the Executive Administrator and General Counsel of the Ethics Review Board. Most of the time this morning is going to be spent by the Office of the Inspector General. My appearance will be very brief. Our agency only has one full-time employee and one part-time employee. We are allocated 0.04% of the city's annual budget fixed by the Home Rule Charter, which in the proposed budget for 2026 amounts to roughly $290,000. We, as an agency, again, very small agency, have never used any of the whole amount of our appropriation any year. So we won't again this year, and the amount of money allocated in the proposed budget is more than adequate to meet all of our needs.
Good news.
Yes. That's all I have.
Perfect.
Good morning. My name is Ed Michel. I'm the Inspector General. To my right is Steve Kruger, my first assistant, Patrice Rose, the Chief Evaluator, Allie Burrows, the Deputy, and to my left is Mike Laughlin, our General Counsel. The Office of Inspector General continues to identify and mitigate fraud, waste, and abuse at unprecedented levels. At our last annual report, we identified about $27 million in potential economic loss prevented, and that does not include the 17 reports and/or letters written, and when some of those reports and/or letters were submitted to local and/or federal prosecutors, resulted in about 6 federal and state combined indictments where our public officials were using their public office for personal gain. So we pride ourselves on continuing to be a part of the solution, holding everyone accountable while ensuring efficiency and effectiveness in city governments. And with that, we'll get started with the slide presentation.
So the number one goal of this office is to prevent and detect fraud, waste, and abuse. We do this, of course, through our timely audits, evaluations, and investigations. But we also do this with education and awareness of city staff and citizens. In the past, we also used to have a process to monitor the city's contracts. Well, due to shortage in staffing, we've not done that in a few years, but we're hoping to reinstitute this initiative next year. In publishing our reports and letters, the OIG ensures that all of the information released is based on credible evidence and that staff working on the reports have sufficient knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform the tasks required. Finally, we ensure our reports meet the standards set by the Association of Inspectors General and are written in a manner that can be used by management, policymakers, and the public to make meaningful changes.
And our personnel has grown from under 10 employees in 2019 to our current staff of 26. And this has enabled our office to conduct more audits and investigations, which in 2024 included 17 reports and letters.
And those FTEs from the previous slide are aligned in this org chart right here, which I want to call your attention to the fact that the City of New Orleans Office of Inspector General is one of very few state or local IG offices that have these 5 different components, which is the audit piece, the evaluation piece, the investigation piece, the IT, digital forensic analysis piece, as well as the intelligence piece. And when you marry all of those facets together, it allows you to be very flexible and adaptable in addressing the issues that come to hand and attacking those issues from different angles. And specifically, I wanted to call your attention to the investigative side, which we've basically reestablished in the past 6 months, where we currently have on staff 5 retired FBI special agents that bring together more than 120 years cumulative of investigative experience to lend to the office and the issues that we're trying to investigate. And also, when you have 5 different components that are all working at high speed and low drag, you need something to glue them together, which is our intelligence program. And that's kind of the glue that marries it up and connects the dots. And the intelligence analyst that we've got brings a background of military intelligence. And of those 5 retired agents, Ed and I are 2 of those 5 as well. So very adaptable and flexible, and we're a small office that is trying to build on its capabilities.
We have an office that the city and the residents should be very proud of. As the first assistant just mentioned, about 20% of the offices, of IG offices nationwide, have either an audit, an evaluation, or an investigative team. We have all 3, right? And in addition to that, less than 20% or less than 10% have an IT analysis section, which we fully have, in addition to an intelligence analysis section. So we have certified public accountants, JDs, PhDs, CIGAs, CIGEs, CFEs, the alphabet soup. When we investigate fraud, waste, and abuse or we audit or evaluate it, there is likely very few agencies that can bring our subject matter expertise to bear to identify and mitigate fraud, waste, and abuse, which is why our latest report identified about $27 million in potential economic loss prevented alone. And with that, I'm happy to respond to any questions the council may have for us.
Councilmember Green.
I know that there is a focus in your office on the issues of fraud and abuse, and I appreciate that. First, I appreciate the work that you all do. I do look at the reports, and I know that you save the city money. I'm going to ask you to consider over time, because I consider it to be a waste, an analysis of what the city spends on issues that should be under the jurisdiction of the state. We've talked about that. I know that it's complex, and it may take some time, but I believe that one of the solutions to our long-term budget woes is to have a better relationship with the state relative to spending, but I think that it needs to be understood that the city spends a lot of money, and I'm going to call it, because your office is involved with investigations, I'm going to call it sometimes waste. We spend money on things that don't fall under our jurisdiction because we have to do it. Otherwise, the issues would not be addressed. I could go into my diatribe about how the state owns the Superdome and we provide the police protection, how the state owns the convention center, and when something happens, EMS is in response. I think that a report of that nature would at least give us an opportunity to go to the state and not point fingers and not make accusations, but say, here are the facts, and I think that those resources, that we could potentially get additional resources that would help the city of New Orleans to provide the services that we need to provide. So I'm going to put it under the category of waste. I think that if we look at it in that regard, that it might get us into a position where we can provide for greater support in certain areas. That's all.
So the last time we were here, Councilmember Green, you asked us to do a report about how much money that the city was giving out to non-city agencies, and that was a great request because our report indicated that there was about $117 million that the city provides to non-city agencies, and that's not a small amount. So you were spot on with that, and we appreciate that. And anytime the council has a request of us to look at something, our door is always open. So any good suggestions will obviously be taken. Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you. It's very appropriate you guys were here, got to sit through us foisting more work onto you with this resolution. And I know you and I have spoken previously of Mr. Michelle, and I think that it's going to be very important that as we bring in the legislative auditor to work with you, that you guys make sure that we're giving you the resources you need to be able to meet the demands of the new roles we're giving you. Because I think it's very important just to like point out as an issue. I think one issue that we've identified that you really need to dig in on is why wasn't overtime a line item in any of the last three budgets if it represented tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars? Because one would think best financial practices, if something is a tremendous line item that has to be paid out on an annual basis, there should be some accounting as to how much it costs and how much we're paying on it. So I think it's just like one example, but it's so important for y'all to really do that deep forensic dive to explain how we got here. Because as I said previously, if we don't figure out how we got here, it is more than likely it will repeat in some future administration. Not the next one, maybe the one after that. Thank you.
Yes. Rest assured, as we try to look 2 and 3 steps ahead, a couple of months ago, we opened up an evaluation of NOPD overtime and an evaluation to ensure that they are conducting those overtime and spending that overtime money in appropriate policies and procedures going forward, because it is a large chunk of the money that we are talking about.
Well, it's not only just NOPD overtime, it's DPW overtime, it's all of the overtime. So as you take a look at that, I think that's going to be important. I do have a public comment card from Bridget Neal. And if you can just say your name and address, thank you.
No problem. Bridget Neal, Boathouse 35, New Orleans, Louisiana. So I wrote this because I felt like the Office of Inspector General wasn't going to get any positive public comments, and they have been indispensable in building my knowledge base of where New Orleans is and how we got here. So I'm just going to read what I wrote because it's a little bit more diplomatic. When I ran, and I just ran for City Council District A, when I ran for City Council, I needed to build my knowledge base. The OIG reports were indispensable in understanding what's actually happening in a city and predicting the current events like our fiscal crisis. Also, a shout out to BGR and the City Services Report. They were also instrumental. At every debate in Town Hall, I raised red flags about the various things that OIG had documented, including the lack of safeguards around NOPD overtime. The $3 million they spent on the Hexagon police data system that had 0 deliveries, the chronic overtime payments to OPSO, $19 million lost to the Sewage and Water Board, and the corruption. We had 19 arrests over the last decade in safety and permits. These weren't isolated mistakes. They're symptoms of a systemic financial mismanagement, the same control failures that appear to have allowed FEMA infrastructure funds to be commingled with operations. Now the state legislative auditor is reviewing our books. When those findings come out, the governor will likely have to negotiate with federal agencies to avoid clawbacks and loss of FEMA eligibility. The OIG has federal partnerships. They can refer cases to the FBI, and they hold the investigative authority and credibility to go forward. So the OIG didn't create this crisis. They documented it while everyone was looking away. Underutilized is not the same as not valuable. And I thought you might cut their budget, so the last line is imploring you please not to cut their budget. But
Okay.
on the same page. I am super grateful that you passed the resolutions. I didn't know about them before I walked in today.
Thank you, Ms. Neal.
Okay.
Councilmember Green.
I am being redundant in a purposeful manner. I do want to thank the Inspector General for that report relative to the amount of money that the city spends with agencies that aren't city agencies. I kind of want to emphasize that for a purpose as people watch. We spend $117 million a year with agencies that aren't city. The reason I say that is because we have complexities involved with the city of New Orleans, and I've mentioned multiple times how important resources are owned by entities other than the city, but the city has responsibilities in certain areas. I just want to emphasize my appreciation for that report and encourage everyone to look at that number, to look at that report, and to recognize that the city does a lot more than spend money on police and fire and things like that. We spend a lot of money on social services and with agencies outside of the city. In your report, $117 million. I'm asking the state to pay attention to those facts and recognize that one of the reasons that our state is stronger is because New Orleans is stronger, and New Orleans provides a significant amount of resources. We have to look at that number in the future and determine if that's the best thing to do, but it's good to have the numbers available. So thank you for that research.
Thank you, sir. And we want to take this moment to thank the City Council after we wrote that report to suggest that those agencies, including the Sheriff's Office, actually start utilizing brass, because as these increases, as our budget decreases and our threats increase, it's now more important than ever that we use our limited resources in an efficient fashion. And 65 or 75 million to, say, the Sheriff's Department alone, we have to make sure that the money is being spent properly. So I thank the City Council for their efforts to ensure that that agency and the other agencies that spend our $117 million actually utilize brass. So thank you for that.
All right, with that, any other questions? Any public comment? All right, you're free to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up is French Market Corporation, RTA, where I think we'll ask Councilmember Green to ride herd, and Algiers Development District, where we'll ask Councilmember King to ride herd.
I was gonna say good morning, but I checked the time. Still morning, still morning.
We're actually cruising today.
Y'all ready? First of all, I would like to echo what everyone else has said. Thank you to this council. I think you guys have all been very engaged, and really, it shows your dedication to the city and to our people. So I just want to thank you for that. I'm Casey Guidry. I'm the executive director for French Market, and with me today is Robert Gertner, or Robbie as some know him, and he's our deputy director. So we're going to dive right in. Go ahead. So for our 2025 goals, we really focused on capital improvements for 2025, and that was getting Building E. Building E is our main administrative building, so working through that construction, as you know, was taken down to the studs after Ida, and we're rebuilding it. We're looking to move back into that building early next year, probably about April of 26. So we're really excited. Things are going well. They're running smoothly. And much appreciated to all the other city agencies who have assisted us there. The flea market restroom upgrade is another project that we had. This has been very well received. It's about a $500,000 project, and people rave about our restrooms now in the flea market. So that was completed in time for the Super Bowl with the help of a lot of folks as well. Expedited that project, but it was completed. And then the third kind of capital goal that we had is for the UPB renovation. We all know the importance of this renovation and doing it right. As we saw and as we see very often, you know, there was a price escalation. So you guys had really helped us in getting when Leslie was here in getting capital dollars for that project. The estimate was about $7.5 million. The low bid came in closer to $10 million. So there was a gap there. So even ahead of this, we were already budgeting and cutting back and making sure that we would have dollars, and we feel comfortable with where we're at, and we think it's worth the spend. Our goal is to do that project well and right so that we can get it reoccupied and start generating income again. I will say that we recently had our State of the Union, if you will, for our staff, and you know, we reminded them that we're all doing this together. It's going to be kind of a rough couple of years, but in the valleys we grow, and this is an opportunity for us to do some other things and really show what we can do and come out stronger on the other end. And I think if there's a slogan, that would be what New Orleans' slogan is. I also want to mention that there were some kind of non-budget items that we looked at in 2025, zero budget impact, if you will. So we really started to engage in a more meaningful way with our tenants and vendors. We started hosting at least quarterly meetings with them to really have roundtable discussions to understand the hurdles that they're facing. We recognize that this is a changing economy, and we think it's critical to meet them where they are and understand what the visitors, what the paying customers are saying. So that's something that we did, no budget impact, but it does make a huge impact for us. We've also taken this time, and thank you to our board members who are also council members. So you have supported these efforts, but we've taken this time to work on strategic planning. We have two major strategic plans that we've worked on. One is our strategic leasing plan to really make sure that we're getting highest and best use for our vacancies, and the other is a strategic growth plan for our flea market. And that's to really, meet with the vendors, meet with the public, to understand what are people wanting to see in the flea market. I say it all the time. When I first started in this job, people would say to me, when I was a kid, I would go to the flea market. We don't see that anymore. And so we're actually currently engaged in that strategic planning effort. We will be we've been working with Trapwise and Bright Moments, so we will be doing some public engagement. We're really excited to hear what the public has to say. We're trying to do a significant amount of outreach, especially with our kind of artists, and to make sure that they can approach the market and that we're lowering that bar. So we're excited about that. So that's 25 kind of creeping into 26. So I gave you a little teaser. Moving into personnel. So currently we have 32 full-time employees. We have budgeted for 43. So the main difference in that number is we have a couple of our higher level positions that we haven't filled, and we are holding off. Obviously, there's a hiring freeze, but what we had done and we had started to budget for last year was we've brought in some folks to help us kind of on a part-time through RFP process approved by our board with consultants, where we don't have to spend that whole salary, where we can just get the as-needed help, and it's helping us to keep those numbers lower while we're in this spot. The other big one that you'll see is for the laborers. So a big part of our strategy was to bring all of our maintenance operations in-house. We were spending just under $1 million on additional labor for maintenance. So that's all going to be brought in-house. That does put some pressure on our staff, and they recognize that. But when we looked at the numbers, even if we had to do overtime, it still costs us less to do it this way. So that's why we budgeted for that. Those positions are not filled at this point. That is for our early 26. Our org chart has stayed the same, so I'll kind of pass through that. And then moving into our 2026 goals. So we've heard a lot in the budget hearings about AI, technology, making things more accessible for people. We agree with that 100%. That aligns with our goals. We are really looking at shifting our marketing online. We've been working with local influencers. And when we talk about marketing, we're talking about marketing to our visitors, to our locals, but also to our prospective tenants and vendors. And it's really important to us to bring our application system online so that we can make it easier for people to apply to the market. They're not doing a paper application that, can disappear. And so that has been something that we've really been focusing on. The other is increasing local engagement. And so what we have found, and we saw this during the Super Bowl efforts, is the more that these department heads get together, the more that different departments get together, the better we do. And I think it really shows that there's a reduction in cost when we're all working together and not spending money on the same things. So we've been working with MACNO, Nighttime Economy, the state, Audubon, RTA, FQMD, DDD, all these agencies, we've been working together to talk about what's going on in the French Quarter. We focus a lot on safety and security, but also we've been working heavily with New Orleans and Company to leverage some of their AI data to understand what the visitor trends look like. So we're really trying to come together and see how do we continue to advertise our city as a whole, because we recognize that we're in competition on a global market, so that people are coming here, they're enjoying being here, they're telling their friends, and they're coming back. And I will give a shout out to New Orleans and Company. They've really been phenomenal in working with us and sharing their resources with us. And we're actually starting a pilot program with them for our tenants for their membership into that system, so we can see how that works. So we're really excited about people being willing to try some new things and think outside of the box in a way that will support our locals. So looking at the numbers, like I said, we had already known that we needed to do a reduction. And so what you see is, a large portion of our personnel services, it's split. So we have our kind of civil service, our employees, and then what we also have is a CEA with NOSEP for our grounds patrol officers. And so our grounds patrol is about 30 to 40% of what our personnel services are, and we think that that is appropriate. There's a huge feedback. People like to see uniformed officers on the ground. We think it's really critical. We think it lends to just feeling safer in the quarter and in a non-aggressive way. That being said, there is a slight reduction in the personnel services, even with those budgeted laborers. That's a little confusing. The reason is we had budgeted high on laborers last year because there was an ask of us to look at a 24-hour or 24/7 opening of all of our restrooms that we ended up not completing, and so they kind of fizzled out. So that it stayed close to the same, even though those positions weren't filled. And then as far as the operating budget goes, like I said, removing that janitorial service was a big portion. We've also done a reduction in some of our marketing dollars, but that reduction doesn't mean we're not marketing. It just means that we're shifting online, which is costing us less than those traditional print ads. Any questions?
Council members, any questions? Any online comments? All right, you are free to go.
Thank you guys so much.
Next up is RTA. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Lona Edwards Hankins. I'm the CEO of the New Orleans Regional Transit Authority, and with me I have Giselle Johnson Banks and Tiffany Gurrier. Both one of Giselle is the CFO and Tiffany is our budget director.
Okay.
Good morning. So I'm going to do a brief review of our 2025 goals. We replaced or procured new fleet, hybrid and diesel fleet. We are working on improving our service reliability. Just having the new fleet allowed us to begin some improvements to our service reliability. We're also implementing some new softwares that will allow for our transit supervisors on the ground to see what's happening, and that should be rolling out by the end of the year. Infrastructure improvements, we've progressed the downtown transit center. We had to work with the FTA and make sure the grant is obligated properly after we got the award. And we are now working through an advertisement that should be coming out to bring on a designer within the next 60 to 90 days. Additionally, the Algiers Terminal project, our board approved that contract for construction, so that should be progressing within the next 60 to 90 days as well. Advancing the transit system through fair technology and internal process improvements. So we have moved forward on that. As it relates to fair technology, we've hired a consultant to help us figure out who has done it well and lessons learned from other cities that have implemented fair technology. One of our goals is to be able to do fair capping such that our community, after they've paid a certain amount, they won't have to pay more, and then allow us to increase the rates and do special event rates for tourism. So increasing the fare on our airport line, increasing the fare on streetcar, increasing the fare on our ferries, the heavy tourist services, but our locals won't be penalized. Continue to make it affordable for our locals. And then internal process improvements. One of the biggest things we've really worked on is looking hard at our work processes, looking hard at our systems, because we have, over the last 5 years, inherited, since we've become public, some very antiquated systems that we're working on replacing. And then last but not least, really looking at our equity. The DBE goal, we're really excited about meeting that goal. Most of our contracts are hitting about 33%, which is our FTA goal. Additionally, we hold workshops every month for about 9 months. We go off on the summer months, but hold workshops for vendors where they can come in and hone their skills as it relates to the business practices. And then launched a universal accessibility study that will allow us to understand the needs of the special needs community. And we recently had an open meeting during RAC, and I was pretty excited because there was a really underrepresented community in all of my community's meetings I've ever done. The deaf community showed out in force to tell us what their challenges were so we can then appropriately address it. Next slide. So before we move to personnel, I really want to take a moment and talk about the last 5-year accomplishments. Since becoming a public agency, we have modernized the transit system. We've procured over 30-something vehicles. We have completed the Canal Street Ferry Terminal, a project in 2019 that the FTA was about to take away from the city because of the lack of movement and the potential deadlines of expiration. We've also done many projects, streetcar ADA accessibility. So we are working really hard to improve and build a modern transit agency. We also are stronger on our finances. We've secured over $170 million in competitive grants, and our bond rating is stronger and have had several years of very good audits from the annual audits we have to submit to the legislative auditor. We are safer. We have a 42% reduction in preventable accidents, and our agency has won 3 industry awards after the American Association of Public Transit. So we have, our safety team is really working hard and have improved our efforts. Workforce development, we have hired locally with the conversion from public to private, created over 30 jobs that are local, jobs that were being done, functions that were being done when it was privatized at another entity, HR, IT, some of the security and safety consultants, all of that was being done outside the city, and we've brought those jobs home. And then last but not least, we are really focused on honing and improving our rider experience. And we're taking that feedback. Every month we have a Riders Advisory Board a committee meeting where the community can show up, tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're working hard to improve. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Giselle to talk through the next set of slides.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So on our personnel, you all have the personnel list, my FTE list by position. We have in the past budgeted at 894 in terms of FTEs. Our vacancies are 61 vacancies at the moment, and so right now we are currently staffed at 833 full-time equivalents. Of our budgeted FTEs, 84% of those FTEs are union positions, so 728 of the 894 are actually union positions, and that is the ATU, IBW, and UL unions. We have 3 unions. Of that, 140 FTEs are just administrative FTEs.
Yeah, if you can pull your microphone closer to yourself, that'd be great.
Okay, how's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. And so of those budgeted FTEs, again, 728 FTEs, or about 84%, are union positions, and 140 positions are administrative positions. We do have currently 61 vacancies, and so we have a total field FTEs of 833. You can go.
So as we think about what the agency's 2026 goals are, we heard as a result of the 2022 service change that there needed to be some improvements in the Algiers and the East Bank, New Orleans East service. So our team has been studying how to improve and have had at least one public meeting on Algiers, several public meetings to hear what the problems were. And later this, before the end of the year, there'll be another round of meetings to go back to Algiers community to share with them what the solutions to those problems are. And we plan to implement that service improvement by next June, and next year kick off a similar study for New Orleans East on how we can improve the service in New Orleans East. And then we have 2 projects that we believe, or several projects we believe we can progress forward. We will be beginning the design on the downtown transit center and the bus rapid transit line. And that both of those projects will have heavily community engagement. And this, Councilman Green, I know you're very concerned, and Councilman King, about the bus rapid transit line. Your communities have talked about whether or not we do dedicated lanes, and this is where that conversation gets to happen. Whether or not we do dedicated lanes, how much it's going to cost, what are the impacts, that's where this conversation happens for bus rapid transit. And then the downtown transit center, as you guys know, we're planning on building it at the corner of Canal and Basin, And there will be robust community conversations as well as we progress on the design of those projects. And then again, we anticipate the Algiers Ferry Terminal ending in late 2026, early 2027. We intend to complete the fair technology study and issue an RFP such that we can start progressing that project along to know and have a selected vendor and move that project along. And then we will complete the universal accessibility study that I mentioned earlier and figure out how we can incorporate some of that into these projects as we're designing them now. So that's our 2026 work plan. There's a whole other things that we're doing internally as it relates to process improvements, customer service, code of conduct, such that we can have a better rider experience. And that.
Does that conclude your presentation, or?
No, we have
Okay.
just a couple of slides here. All right. So here is our 2025 projected actuals. You can see that in comparison to what we budgeted for 2025 and where we believe we'll be for 2026. We are still actually working on our numbers and trying to get the variance down. So in terms of 2026, we're projecting $96 million in terms of personnel and $49 million in terms of other operating costs. And this is costs that are related to service, right? Service, material supplies, fuel, those things that actually keep the system running. That presents an overall variance of $6.6 million. We are looking at, of course, with the state of revenue, with the city, that directly impacts us in terms of general use sales tax and hotel motel tax. We are looking to hold on our hiring in terms of those positions that are not critical need positions, just to make sure that we mitigate any negative impacts of the revenue situation to RTA. And so we are doing that for 2026. We hope that we can hold at around 850 or 60 or so FTEs for 2026, and that would also help bring our personnel costs down. Next slide. All right, in terms of government assistance and capital budget, we're projecting $15.7 million for 2026 in terms of our local match for our capital projects. So you heard Ms. Hankins talk about our capital projects, the Algiers Ferry Terminal, and those things that are happening. So where the federal government does provide 80% in terms of government grants, we do have a local match, and that's a 20% match. And so we're estimating around $15.7 million for 2026. And that is really just due to timing of projects and things, and as those projects progress and our expenditures that we put out. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Green, you have any questions? Councilmember King?
Yes, good morning still. As you all know, at the meeting we attended, there's a lot of concern about the relocation of the bus terminal.
The downtown transit center?
Yeah. So we all heard the comments and concerns that the residents in that area has. So I just really encourage a lot of community input, because those concerns have not gone away. They have grown even more so. And I just look forward to those conversations.
And we are committed to having them with you and them and anyone else with the city.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next up is Algiers Development District. Do you want to handle this, Councilmember King? I'm sorry, y'all. There was public comment, 2 public comments. Please come on back down. Angela Kinlaw and Lena Connolly.
Yeah, just real quick, thank you. As a person who's 50%
vehicle, 50% public transportation. I just wanted to give a major shout out to the RTA bus drivers and the operators of all the RTA vehicles, the folks who work in the garage, the people who do all the repairs, the office workers. Public transportation is really important to us, and we definitely wanted to go on record during this budget season saying that we want public transportation to be fully funded. We really believe public transportation should be free for all people because our public dollars have really paid for it multiple times over, and we really just believe that with prioritization of the residents, children and families, working class people in the city, that it's just really critical that we not have to overcharge or charge people for these rides. You spoke to a few things, the New Orleans East services. We're happy to see that there's some inquiry around that and movement. We're hoping that there can be major changes there. We have asked about the Algiers Ferry and whether that's going to be funded this year. We also wanted to know about the extension of the Opportunity Pass program and if the Downtown Transit Center is going to help relieve some of the unacceptable criminalization that transpires sometimes around the main library. We see that even in the midst of budget crisis, the city of New Orleans has found a way to pay for a big black fence to wrap around the library, which prohibits access in a lot of ways. And so we just want to know if there's going to be some relief around that, because we want our dollars proactively invested in residents with a particular focus on children and families. So I don't know if you can speak to any of that.
So let me start with the Opportunity Pass. We have about 7,400 young people who are subscribing to that program. We are, it will continue as long as the grant is available from the city, and we are robustly trying to increase that amount. As it relates to the design of the Downtown Transit Center, there's a philosophy that we are incorporating into the design of all of our physical structures. It's designed with crime prevention in mind. So we will be utilizing some of those concepts, and we'll welcome, that's part of this community process. We welcome any feedback from the community in order to make sure we are designing it with community and not to community. What was the other one?
It was the ferry funding.
Ferry funding. So the ferry funding is tricky. Since the tolls went away, we do not have a sustainable funding source for the Algiers Ferry, and the funding that we get from the state is not sufficient. So I've had a conversation with the Secretary of the Department of Transportation on how to increase the amount of money we get from the Chalmette Ferry to make us whole on that. As it relates to the Algiers Ferry, as you guys are aware, we have requested funds from the city for the past 2 years. There was a CE and have not been able to receive those revenues. We did not ask this year. What's happening is essentially we're taking funds from fixed route to supplement the ferry services. We will continue to do that until it becomes unformidable. We are having conversations with GNO Inc. and the RPC to try to create a study for the ferries that will allow for more regionalization of the ferries and provide us a sustainable revenue stream. So we will be applying for the grant the next time the FTA puts that grant out so that we can figure out how to create a sustainable ferry funding stream.
Lena Connolly?
And thank you, Ms. Kinlow, for your comments about the RTA. We believe we are improving and we have a ways to go.
Hello, my name is Lena Connolly, 70116, and I'm in District D. I was just wondering, as far as I'm not sure how the budget works. First, actually, I would like to share my appreciation for the RTA as well. We love our bus drivers and our public transit. But I was curious with how the budget works. If you're down 61 in staff right now, is it counted within the budget if you had the opportunity to hire the staff that is needed. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that accounted for in the budget for that 61 staffing? Because I had seen the comment about critical positions needed. And first of all, like, what is considered a critical position? And then is there room for that if the opportunity comes up? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just to answer that, so we do have, as we look to hold on our number, any critical positions, and what I mean by that are mechanics, operators, any positions that we need to actually meet service, keep vehicles running, we will hire those positions. We do have that budgeted in right now. We have been under budget in terms of our staffing costs. Historically, because of those vacancies, those are high turnover positions sometimes, and so we do actually have the budget there. As we have other vacancies in terms of admin staff, we are looking to make sure that our service is running in a way that we are being most efficient with our vacant and our filled positions. And so as we look to create service by putting 140 buses on the street. That is the goal for 2026 and beyond, to come up with a plan for that. We will make sure that we have the correct staffing to meet those needs. Looking at making sure any efficiencies that we can create in terms of administrative positions, we'll be doing that to make sure that we cut those positions down before we look at any other positions.
Okay, thank you. Without any more public comment and no comment from the dais, you are now free to go. Algiers Development District is up next. You can proceed when you're ready.
Good morning. I'm Mark Major, and I'm the chairman of the board of the Algiers Development District, and it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. This morning, let me introduce to my right, Kathy Lynn Honaker. She's the executive director at Algiers Development District. And to my left is Sean Bruno. He's our CPA. We're happy to be here to present our balanced budget of $3,125 million. Before I turn it over to Kathy Lynn to give you an update of what we're doing at ADD, I just want to say we impact on a daily basis 8,500 lives from the military, Delgado students, NOMA students, financial services, and other small businesses. So again, we welcome the opportunity to present and stand ready for questions. I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Lynn Honaker to discuss our exciting activities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. We've had a very exciting year at the Federal City, New Orleans Riverside at Federal City in 2025. I want to start out with talking about our New Orleans Maritime Military Academy. As you know, it was the very first one in the country, and they have been so successful with over now 1,000 students. They're bursting at the seams, as they say, which is a wonderful thing. It's a Type 2 public school, and all the cadets receive ROTC, junior ROTC training. So it's been a huge success. And the next slide, if you'll look in the orange where they're located and you see 3 other squares that are orange on the map, in the spring of this year, they expanded to 3 other parcels with a purchase from ADD. So we're very excited for them, and They're fundraising and getting ready to expand, and it's just going to be bigger and better every year. So very proud of our military school at Federal City. Next, just in the end of September, the next slide, you'll see Riverside Retreat at Federal City, which is 70 units of independent living for 55 and over, and military also. We opened that. It was completed at the end of September. And on the next slide, you can see we had a big ribbon-cutting event with the military, our board members, and a large, about 100 people attending from the public. So very exciting time at New Orleans Riverside at Federal City. I wanted a quick update on Delgado. We've had the Technology Center. In 2021, it was completed, and now we have increased to over 2,500 students there every day, which is another big success for us this year. On the next slide, the Marine Corps Support Facility, just to remind everybody and those that are watching from home that New Orleans is so proud to have over 4,000 at this building at any day, and they support over 100,000 reserve military over the whole world. And that happens right here at New Orleans Riverside at Federal City. Very proud to have our Marine team there. The U.S. Coast Guard on the next slide is also located there, just as a reminder for the public that's watching. They monitor traffic on the Mississippi. They do search and rescue missions from that facility, and they contain environmental spills, and we're very proud to have them located there also. 3 years ago on the next slide, the Federal City Pool was taken over by Nord on a short-term lease. This year, another great thing for 2025, we finalized the long-term lease. So now it will be managed by Nord for many years. And they're very excited, the public's very excited, because this opens it up to the public, and we have the right people running it. They're doing a super job. The next slide is the Navy Federal Credit Union at Federal City. In the last year, they have increased their size. It is the only one in the region. So people from Baton Rouge, if they want to interact with an individual, they come to New Orleans, to Algiers, to interact and do their business. And they serve all branches of the military. There's always cars all around the building. And we're very proud to have them there and to be the only one in the region. Yesterday on the map, you can see there's a pink area close to those slots I talked about, the orange ones. There's a pink one there that is highlighted as the lofts of Federal City. And if you'll hit the next slide, we just celebrated the groundbreaking yesterday of 60-unit market rate lofts that are going to be beautiful. And the really exciting thing is it's in one of our historic buildings over 100 years old. So it's going to truly make New Orleans Riverside a place to live, play, and work. And we have more plans for future expansion for people to live, play, and work at Federal City. And you can see the rendering of what the lofts will look like. So 2025 goes down as one of our most successful years. We're very excited about it. We appreciate all the support we get from each of you. And if there are any questions?
No.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Those lofts might actually get me to cross the bridge. Next up is biodistricts. Where are my papers?
Good afternoon, members of the council. I'm Andy Copeland. I'm chair of the BioDistrict New Orleans Board of Directors. With me is Charlotte Parent, who's the vice president at LCMC Health. She is one of our budget co-chairs. She is joined in that role by Emily Arata, who is a vice president over at Ochsner Health. Emily is hopefully on her way and will be here before we finish. There she is. Look at that.
Perfect timing.
What a great entrance. So welcome to Emily. I'll go quickly to, we're going to quickly highlight some quick wins. This is the first year, thanks to the council's help, that the BioDistrict has had recurring funding. So one of the first things we were able to do was to partner with the Downtown Development District to do about $300,000 worth of landscaping improvements through disadvantaged business enterprises in the downtown area of the BioDistrict earlier this year. And so we're excited about the progress that we're making in just terms of cleaning up and beautifying the district. We also have underway a $90,000 contract with Groundwork New Orleans to rebuild the tree canopy on Tulane Avenue. So Groundwork is a workforce development program here that does a lot of tree planting beautification work. So we're thrilled to partner with them. They should begin their planning efforts in the next few weeks. We are also grateful for the council's leadership in identifying resources for Charity Hospital, both for the redevelopment grant for the building as well as for the affordable housing grant to help de-risk the project. So thank you very much. That is one of the top priorities of ours is to get that Charity Hospital back underway. We have been working as well with the Kresge Foundation to work on the potential of modeling a housing fund after what they've created in Memphis, where the Kresge Foundation made a guarantee. Local banks brought together $30 million in capital, and they're investing in housing and small business development in the city of Memphis. And so with Kresge's support, we did a visit up there in March and are working with local banks and the Kresge Foundation to develop something similar here in the BioDistrict. We're also working closely. One of our biggest priorities has been to get bus stops with the RTA developed, particularly along the health corridor that the RTA may have spoken about, which is Tulane Avenue in the district, going to Carrollton and then out Claiborne to Ochsner's main campus. But that is the bus line that connects most of the healthcare workers in the region, or a majority of them, and it's a big priority of ours. And we're working with the RTA on plans so that we can invest in high-quality bus stops along that route. Also wanted to note that we have been continuing to make progress in partnership with the Xavier Ochsner College of Medicine, and their downtown campus is taking shape downtown as well. Andres, if you go back to the very beginning. So our priorities from our strategic plan remain, again, same as we've adopted last year. So redevelopment of Charity Hospital, back to that slide, please. Tulane Avenue improvements, which we just spoke about. Public space improvements under Claiborne Avenue. Again, the Ujamaa work there started us out on a nice path to improvements. Continuing to invest in placemaking and activation, working with our universities and hospital partners on research development strategies. Next slide. Support to researchers and entrepreneurs. We're sponsors of the Bio Challenge with the Bioinnovation Center. We've also given them a grant to support their help of entrepreneurs who are seeking SBIR and STTR federal funds. So the SBIR and STTR are major ways entrepreneurs get their first cash to expand their businesses. The hardest part for them is not that they don't have good ideas, it's to get those ideas translated into a competitive grant application. So we've got a $91,000 contract with NOBIC to support grant writers for that. Again, we're going to continue to work with the city on workforce development and training and our hospital partners there, the partners around security in the district, and advancing branding and communications. You did see with the Downtown Development District, the signage that's now up in the district. If you go to the next slide, we have Andreas Pachos here as our administrative coordinator, came over from the New Orleans Business Alliance and provides accounting and administrative support and policy support, everything that we need. We're continuing to allocate the bulk of our resources to on-the-ground investments that will make a difference in the district for folks. And so next slide, you can, if you go to the budget slides, just wanted to note, the key thing is there on the top of the other operating 2025 projected actuals. We actually, it took a minute to get alignment with the city on funding us. So for most of the year, we had $390,000, and by the July meeting, we had obligated, in total about $450,000 worth of spending. The good news is the city's next check is in our account at this point, and so we're in a position to be able to start to do the spending because we have the cash actually to match what was in our budget. So you'll approve more money than we were able to spend because we didn't actually have it in the account. But we've got the money in the account now, and we've got lots of plans to continue these items in the future. So I'll pause. I guess the next slide, there's a state slide. The state money has not also come in because it had to wait till the city money comes in because it was a match. So we're in the process of trying to get the money from the state for the match. And that will actually give us robust funding. So I think there's going to be a lot of progress in 2026 in terms of things that you can see additionally on the ground. Happy to pause for questions, Madam Chair, and also gladly to defer to my colleagues here.
I think I'm the last woman standing up here. I do want to talk about Trader Joe's, which I think was a big win, and the impact that maybe it's had on the Bio District as far as revenue. Have you realized any of that yet?
So we haven't seen it directly.
Right.
I'm sure the city has seen it. As you may recall, the funding for the Bio District was money in excess of the amount the city was already getting up to a cap.
Right.
And then beyond that cap, the city gets all the money again. So we're that little slice of peanut butter in between the two buns. I think what the Trader Joe's thing does is ensures that we're going to be able to maximize the amount that the city have provided in our CEA, and that the city will get substantial money on top of that. And of course, as you know, Councilmember, it's a very popular destination. It's a great asset for the district. It's a great asset for the city. I want to compliment you all on the council and folks in the neighborhoods for working together on a design that while it didn't meet everybody's objectives, I think was a great compromise for an appropriate looking development on that kind of corridor that worked both for the business and as well as it could work for the city. And I think it's a real asset. That's actually one of the most attractive parking lots and placements of a building like that we've seen.
Yeah, I agree. And every time I go, the shelves are basically empty, like locusts have hit it. I do want to talk about expanding sort of the footprint when we think about places like Governor's House and how we can get that reactivated. I think that what I will do is have my office reach out to you, Andy, to talk about some of these things as far as redevelopment and how we can spur economic investment, especially as we talk about blighted buildings that are still sort of anchoring the Bio District.
Yeah, thank you. And you all probably saw the news about a developer working on, I think it's 1210 Canal with the health and wellness thing.
Yeah,
I know there's some ideas out there. There's an important senior housing development that you're probably well aware of that's going in on, I guess I'm going to say it's near the Family Dollar. It's the old American Red Cross building. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to put infill development that's high quality, that takes advantage of the jobs in the district, takes advantage of the transit in the district, and I think the sky's the limit. There are a lot of folks who are investing in the district because they feel momentum around it.
Yeah.
And thanks to your leadership for giving us the resources to be able to put some of that into action. I'm really optimistic about the next decade and what we'll be able to accomplish to transform things on the ground there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic once we get the forward momentum that is already taking place. Any questions, Councilmember King? Any comments from the public? All right, with that, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I don't know where the library is. We're going to stand at recess until we can get the library here. So everybody take a break.
All right, good afternoon, library. You can start your presentation once you get settled in. You all are right on time? Perfect timing?
Thank you.
Start whenever you're ready, no rush.
No, they said start whenever we're ready. I'm ready. That's how you know. Hello, and thank you for having us. I'm Emily Payton, the Executive Director of the New Orleans Public Library, and I have with me today Tamika Miles, our Deputy Director, Michelle Thompson, our Fiscal Administrator, and Heather Riley, our Director of Public Services. So our 2026 department goals: we will continue to expand mobile pop-up services and flexibility. In 2025, we doubled the staffing of our outreach team from 2 to 4 staff members, allowing us to increase outreach pop-ups. Our outreach team has popped up over 227 times this year, offering library card signups, material checkouts, programming, and an array of locations throughout the city. We have also connected with 50 out of the city's 76 neighborhood associations to pop up at their meetings. We're still trying to reach out to the rest of them. It is our goal to pop up at every single neighborhood association in 2026. We are routinely popping up at Nord's Florida Desire Center, where we also have a book vending machine. We partnered with 31 Nord camps this year. That's 2,245 youth and 42 pop-up library programs with Nord in just 2 months alone. In 2026, we plan to invest in more equipment to expand our ability to provide mobile pop-up outreach services. We will increase places for whole families to engage in activities. We will continue our work on the Children's Resource Center. The Capital Projects Administration is overseeing and primarily funding this project. However, the library location had not been touched in a significant way since the 1990s. So we have committed to investing library funds to refresh and renew this 117-year-old library branch. This will include repairing, replacing plaster walls damaged by water infiltration. In addition to wall renovations, and the building's flooring will be upgraded. Significant enhancements will be made to the restrooms, ensuring full compliance with the American with Disabilities Act to provide accessibility for all users. We are excited for this opportunity to do more for our community. The library already plays an effective role in developing literacy skills. By providing a place specifically designed for children, we aim to create enjoyable early literacy experiences in an interactive learning environment. Research shows that a child's first 3 years are the most formative and crucial for brain development. The updated space will focus on 5 key principles of early literacy: talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing. This space will be designed to encourage parent and child engagement and interaction, specifically for children from birth to age 5, but no one will be turned away. In 2026, we will continue to update and improve library facilities. Over the past year, we've relied on the Capital Projects Administration's generous support to manage essential library-funded improvement projects. In 2026, we will invest in a much-needed administrative position responsible for the overall management and oversight of system-wide library facilities operations, planning, and construction projects. This oversight will include, but is not limited to, long-range planning, space management, maintenance, repair, renovation, construction, and groundskeeping.
Emily, can I interrupt you there?
Yes.
As we talk about the Central City Library, will this maintenance person, even though the library is within a city building, also monitor conditions of sort of satellite branches?
On some level, absolutely monitoring, and we do some minor maintenance, but we are, the building is not ours.
I'm well aware of that, but I just want to make sure that there will be coordination with this person and the city
Yes.
to ensure that things like shutdowns don't occur again.
Yes, that would be the goal, and to have someone who has a lot of knowledge in these areas and also has that administrative level ability and can focus on that.
Yeah.
Only.
Facilities. All right,
Yes,
thank you.
exactly. You're welcome. The position will also play a key role in facilities-related communications with city officials, community partners, and other stakeholders. A job study for this position was completed at the end of 2024, but the position was frozen several times in 2025, making it a slow go to begin hiring. Thankfully, we recently received approval to move forward and have set up our first round of interviews. As already mentioned, in 2026, we'll invest in improvements at the Children's Resource Center. We'll also continue to invest in replacing the elevators, the main HVAC system at the main library. The project is underway and will move forward in 2026. We'll also continue funding the replacement of HVACs and roofs at 5 to 6 library locations. This urgent project started as a capital project, which did not receive funding at the last minute for 2025. We determined that we could not wait another year to begin work on it in the hopes that it might get funded again. Thankfully, the Capital Projects Administration has been assisting us with managing this project, which is funded by the library. We will fill vital positions. When the hiring freeze began this June, we were in the midst of interviewing for a number of positions in facilities and public services. We recently received permission to hire some of the facilities positions and have moved forward with setting up requisitions and interviews. We're still awaiting approval to begin hiring again for public-facing library associates and librarian positions. But filling these positions is essential to keeping our libraries open and will continue continuing to provide services to our community. When permitted to do so, we will continue hiring. We will grow our knowledge of what everyone wants and needs from the library. At the library, we routinely collect and analyze data and demographics to help determine the wants and needs of our community. In 2026, we plan to further supplement this quantitative data by expanding our qualitative data collection, including conducting more regular surveys, listening sessions, and online forums. This will allow us to determine the most effective way to do a number of things, including offering Sunday hours, to best serve our community within the limitations of our budget and staffing. Personnel. I think there's a personnel slide. Yes. Here are our 2025 actual and 2026 budgeted personnel numbers. In 2026, before the hiring freeze, we hired 11 new staff members. However, we also lost 13 staff members due to retirements, resignations, and dismissals, leaving us with -2 employees from where we started. Many applicants who turned down positions or staff who resigned mentioned low pay versus high cost of living, as well as residency requirements. Budget summary. Next. Yes. Here you will find our 2025 adopted budget and our 2026 proposed budget. As you can see, our 2026 total budget is $34.7 million, which is $2.6 million less than 2025. This decrease is primarily due to a combined 5% pay increase over the past 2 years and $3.5 million being reallocated from operating funds to cover what was originally planned as a bond-funded replacement of roofs and HVAC systems at 5 to 6 library branches. We started the year with $17 million in reserves and with $15 million budgeted for 2025 projects. We anticipate that $12 million of the allocation to be returned to reserves and budgeted again in 2026 as the building project expenditures spread over the next 2 years. Upon project completion, the reserve balance is expected to be less than $3 million. Our goal is to then cut back on spending in order to rebuild the reserves to $6 million, which aligns with approximately 30% of our average annual millage receipts of $22 million. Library operations and personnel costs are entirely supported by dedicated millages. For 2025, we budgeted $22 million in millage receipts, and as of today, $22 million has been received and posted to our fund code, which will allow us to accommodate our personnel costs through the end of the year. We anticipate not having to furlough our staff because all of our millage revenue has been received and posted. We also have budgeted dollars from our reserves to supplement operating expenses through 2025. We want to be clear and ensure everyone is aware that this funding currently utilizes a unique fund code in the general fund. During a recent meeting with the CAO and budget, we expressed our desire to have our funding moved into a separate dedicated bank account to ensure strict segregation of funds and avoid commingling. Budget impacts. 2026 budget impacts and challenges. As stated, the library is fully funded by 2 dedicated tax millages. We receive no funds from the general fund. Nevertheless, we are still experiencing our own budgetary impacts as the city's tax base shrinks and our expenses grow. I want to take this opportunity to dispel the myth that New Orleans Public Library has large reserves or a hefty millage. Just for comparison, in 2025, Jefferson Parish Library had 16 locations, just as we do, 241 staff members to our 200, and a budget of $29 million to our $22 million. And further to our west, East Baton Rouge Public Libraries has 15 library locations, 550 staff members, and a budget of $65 million in 2025. Will we continue to offer great services, events, information, and resources to our public? Absolutely yes, but we also have our own budget challenges. Not only are the cost of staff salaries, construction, and building maintenance going up, but over the years we have continued to take on more expenses for services that used to be provided for by the city, including trash pickup, pest control, groundskeeping, and tree trimming. The library also pays for its own IT support, funding library IT staff salaries, hardware, software, and licensing. We pay the wages for our HR team. We also support our own facilities and maintenance department and fund all library repairs and construction costs, except for the occasional capital project. The library also houses and funds the city archives, where 300 years of our city's government documents are held, preserved, and made accessible to the public. As the archives continue to grow, so do the demands for physical and digital space in which to store and protect them, as well as the need for new technology and more staff to provide access to them. As we move into 2026, we plan to cut our costs along with the rest of the city in an effort to fund our current facility projects, rebuild our reserves, and so that we can continue to afford to repair and upgrade our facilities into the future. Staffing, you're good. When it comes to recruiting and retaining library workers, the New Orleans Public Library has a major competitor, the Jefferson Parish Library, which does not have a residency requirement and offers annual raises. Library work is people work. People serving people, and it requires a lot of people to keep our 16 locations open 6 days a week with open hours that amount to 2 shifts most days of the week. Our library staff is our most valuable asset. We literally could not do it without them. Library work is also complex work, which should be paid appropriately. It requires a surprising amount of knowledge and skill with technology and people. All of our library associates are required to have at least undergraduate degrees, the ability to understand complicated systems, and the ability to provide great customer service to everyone from all walks of life who may come through our doors. On top of that, all of our librarians are required to have at least a master's degree. Many of our library staff have more than that. Most of our library staff also come to us with associated costly student loans. To address several staffing challenges, we plan to work with civil service in 2026 in an effort to create library-specific office assistant level positions that would not require college degrees. Yes, this could create potential savings for the library, but most importantly, it would allow us to recruit widely, including college students who have not yet graduated, and to grow high school interns and volunteers into long-time library workers, even if they never decide to go on to earn a college degree. Hopefully, this strategy will create more opportunities for our smart, local young people to grow up with us, finish their undergraduate degrees, receive promotions, and perhaps even become librarians. Facilities. Over the past few years, we've been allocating funds from our reserves to make vital repairs to our aging facilities. The library does not rely on city property management to repair or maintain our facilities. As mentioned previously, we currently have 3 major projects underway, which have substantially reduced our reserves. Offerings. Clearly, our ability to staff appropriately and to afford to maintain our facilities could ultimately affect our offerings. Budget cuts felt by many of our nonprofit partners, other city departments, and government agencies also play a role in what we can continue to offer to our public as far as events and programming. We recently had several state library-funded databases cut, forcing us to cut some and take on the cost for the most popular ones. Also, our main supplier of books recently went out of business, potentially creating less competition and less discounts. The prices for our widely popular ebooks and e-audiobooks continue to rise and rise. Despite these challenges, there is good news. Like so many public libraries, the New Orleans Public Library is great at doing a lot, even in lean times. Thank you for your time. Questions?
Thank you, Emily. I was going to ask about the archives because I know that that's been an ongoing concern. They're sitting in the basement, basically, of the main library. Is that
Yes,
correct?
correct.
300 years of documents.
Yes.
Is there any grant funding available at all from the state or feds, given the historic nature of the archives?
It's something we can look into. I don't know if we can get a grant enough to build a new facility. That's probably the concern. We do apply for a lot of grants at the library, and we use a lot of grants, but I'm not sure. But we will look into it.
Well, and I think the other thing, and I think you and I spoke about this the last time we met, which was too long ago, because you're one of my favorite organizations within city government, is to look at city-owned buildings.
Yes.
And to look at school board buildings, which a lot of them have been decommissioned, and they're looking for new purpose for those. So.
And we have reached out to city real estate. We do have a list for that. And, one of the options, too, could be, do we put them in the keep them in the main library, but move them out of the basement and then move administration somewhere and get us out of the way? So we're looking at all the options. We haven't had a lot of response on that, but we're definitely on the list.
Okay, well, yeah, just let us know how we can help.
Okay.
And then on a personal note, my dogs just ate my library card, so I need to get a replacement.
Well, you can come in. You also, now we have a virtual card, but if you want real things, objects, you need to come in and we'll replace it for you. If we won't charge you for that dog.
I appreciate that. They're crazy. Any questions, Councilmember King?
It sounds like an excuse.
Just want to express how important the library system as a whole is. I know my family uses the library every day, every week, checking out books, attending a lot of neighborhood meetings, a lot of just different events at the libraries throughout the city. So just thank you for what you all do, and definitely don't want you to think that your entire staff services are not recognized and appreciated.
We definitely feel recognized by both of you because I do know you care about us, and I appreciate that.
And just on a similar note, I do want to thank you and your staff for caring for everybody from all walks of life, despite some opposition by some people who believe that libraries should be reserved only for the best of us and not the least of us. I know you provide critical services to many of our unhoused folks, including computer access and job resources. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, Angela Kinlaw is going to come up and ask about defense.
Okay, greetings to all. I want to say to the council, and I'm very mindful of the people who are present and the people who are not, to just name a couple of things because we have all the right people in the room at this moment to answer these things. So I noticed that when it comes to archives, the City Planning Commission has put forth their recommendations to the council. And I don't know if you've seen those yet. No? Okay. So there's one dedicated to the archive, the NOPL City Archives, and it's department ranking number 1. I'm naming that because there are dollar amounts attached to them that need approval. However, whenever there's a recommendation for anything that's going to go forward in terms of a capital project, there's money that gets approved and allocated, and then we look up a year later and maybe somebody slid it somewhere else. So Freddie King, you remember us last year coming to the meetings when they were in the city, in the district in the nighttime, for the $2 million that was allocated for HVAC and roof that was taken from the library and needs to be replaced. I'm naming that the City Planning Commission recommendations have come over because this would be a time without having to overwork and figure it out where the document's going to come to you and you could just say as a council person, we want these things to be included. The archives also has $2.5 million that was removed, and this would be the opportunity, since it's coming before you now during budget season, that work's already been done, that money could be moved back. And we want to go on record again as saying that we need a standalone library for the lower Ninth Ward, and this would be a great opportunity for that to be included for capital projects as well.
Antoinette Scott, Ms. Scott.
And while she's coming up, Ms. Kinlaw, money gets slid all over the place, different departments all the time.
We need to slid back.
I am here to voice collective support for the New Orleans Public Library as a longtime patron and community member. As a vital part of our city, NOPL needs to be fully funded, fully functional, and fully accessible to our community in ways that do not criminalize nor hinder access to any member of the community. As we have been forced to hear of the mismanagement of funds and how the city will not be able to pay workers, it somehow finds the funds to build fencing around the main library, limiting access to patrons, and criminalizing patrons at the same time. This disgusting attempt to pit patrons against each other and against the most vulnerable in our community is another demonstration of the consistent mismanagement of our funds and our lives. I also must voice collective patron agreement for the reappropriation of the $2 million in capital project funds that were originally designated for NOPL's roof and HVAC projects. Last year, members of this council, particularly councilpersons Jeruso, Morell, and King, indicated that the funds would be reallocated. Trust is built when commitments have been tangibly materialized. We have had enough of the trust the council's judgment lip service when it comes to the administration alone, that when it's not the administration alone that has budgeting authority in the city of New Orleans. The libraries, as well as other public spaces, are in dire need of comprehensive HVAC team comprised of local workers under the Public Works umbrella to be proactive about HVAC and facility maintenance to keep our public libraries and buildings open and operating at full capacity year-round. Let me repeat, proactive. Budget season should be an opportunity for the administration and council to demonstrate proactive planning and preparation, not reactive finger-pointing and feigned ignorance that once again leaves our community picking up the tab with absolutely nothing to show for it.
Thanks, Ms. Scott. Lana Connolly, followed by, I'm sorry, I think it's Shawan. Shannon, oh, can't read her handwriting.
Hello, I am just another member of the community who uses the library a lot and understands the importance of the library as a public space and one of our very few public spaces, maybe the only public space that we can still use free of charge as residents and is safe from elements as well. I am here just to press the importance of keeping the money that has already been allocated to the libraries where it should be, which is fixing the spaces, going towards HVAC, making sure our resources are kept public and non-criminalized, and working to safeguard against harm caused to the residents, especially due to, heat, cold, and all of the elements. I remember there were some responses to questions about the library for people up for election, and there seemed to be confusion, I feel like, on what was offered for workforce development, and just that, wow, I think a lot of things, of course they offer many things. They offer so many services, library is amazing. But as far as like skill development, there seemed to be a misunderstanding about like what was available for skill and workforce development, and we would love to see that amplified and more of that available. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Shannon?
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Satanovich, and I'm the Executive Director of the Friends of the New Orleans Public Library. We are charged with raising money to elevate the library to work at its absolute best. And we've been very successful at that, I have to say. We are delighted with the support the council has given us in terms of grants that we've put right into programming for the library. Our patrons, people who purchase our used books, are coming out in droves to support the library. And what we want to make sure is that all of the money we are raising can be used. We want to make sure that the library has the staffing that it needs to carry out the programs that we are raising money for. One question that our board of directors has had is, if the public library is, to our understanding, the only city agency that is fully funded by millage and is not part of the general fund in terms of staffing, will any cutbacks to staffing affect the library? How would that affect them? We're also thinking of the travel ban. Some of the funds we raise are to assist library staff members to attend training. We want to make sure that that can happen. So we want to thank the library staff for all the hard work they do. We want to thank everybody who comes out to support the Friends so we can raise money to put into the libraries. But we want to make sure that the funds that we raise can be put to use, and the library is going to be fully staffed in the year to come. We all know we are in a budget crisis. Let us not mince words. This is a very challenging time. But since the library is millage funded, our question is, how would travel restrictions and hiring restrictions affect the library? Thank you.
Thank you. I think on the staffing issue, there is a general freeze, but there are exceptions that can be made, and so you would have to just apply for that exception. For the travel ban, if it's funded by another entity, like the Friends, then you can travel. You just have to go through all the hoops of getting the approved travel.
And we have put in the hiring exemption forms in July, and some got approved, and we're still waiting on others.
Okay, well, let us know how that goes. Anything else, Councilmember King? Anything else from you all? With that, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.